the Mishnah in Sanhedrin in Perek Gimel Mishnah Zion. So it's talking about the procedure of Beis Din, that the two litigants, they come in and they give over their positions, and if there are any witnesses, so the witnesses come in, and after they hear the positions of the litigants and they hear the witnesses, they tell everyone to leave. Everyone goes out of the courtroom, and the panel of judges, the minimum of 3 judges, but the panel, however big the panel is, they sit and they deliberate. And then when they're done, they bring everyone in. Hagadol Shabadayan Omer, and at that point, the elder of the panel, usually referred to as the Av Beis Din, it's usually a title given to the elder Dayan, although he doesn't have any more authority than any of the other people. He's the same. He has one vote just like everyone else. He's not the Kohen Gadol, correct. So he gets up and he says, Ish Ploni Atazakai. He gets over, he tells them the verdict. He said, You have been found meritorious, Ish Ploni Atachayev, or alternatively, we have found you obligated. And how do we know that when one of the judges leaves the Beit Din, Lo Yomar, he should not say to one of the litigants, Ani mezakeh, I was the one who actually, it was my opinion to let you off. The Chaverai Mechayven, but it was the other 2 judges that decided that you were liable. So what could I do? It was 2 against 1. I let you off, but the other guys, they obligated you. Right? My colleagues it was 2 against 1. Al Zen Emar, on this Dayan, it says in the pasuk in Vayikra, Lo Selech Rachel Ba'amecha. Pasuk in Vayikra, test. Right, Lo Telech Rachel Ba'amecha. That is the pasuk referring to the prohibition that we call Lashon Hara. Lashon Hara is Lo Telech Rachel Ba'amecha. Do not walk around and deliver bad reports amongst your people. V'omer, and it says in the pasuk in Mishlei, Holech Rachil Megale Sod. The one who commits this, who goes around and tells negative reports, okay, he has revealed the Sod. He's revealed the Sod.
That's what he's considered.
He is considered one who has revealed the Sod. Now, what does Sod mean? So in Lashon HaKodesh, there's 2 very, very distinct meanings for that word Sod that are explicitly, and there are 2 completely different contexts in which this word is applied. One context is a group of people, like we say, Kel Na'aratz B'Sod Kedoshim Rabbah, that God is amongst the Sod of the holy ones. What does that mean, the Sod of the holy ones? Meaning, when a bunch of people get together for a purpose of holiness, so God manifests himself there. Like we say that there's Hashras Hashchina, there's a revelation of the divine when a congregation gets together. That's why it's always important to pray in a congregation. It's important to learn in a congregation. It's important to do things in a communal setting, because the community brings about a revelation of God, the Sod. And the other connotation of Sod, which is more in line with our modern parlance, is a secret. Right? Asher Yachdav Namtik Sod, like David HaMelech says, this is a great friend of mine who together we would share our secrets together. Each person would reveal his secrets. So, first of all, there's a separate question, which is, what is the common denominator between these 2 connotations, secret and gathering? That's an interesting question in of itself. For purposes of not leaving you all hanging on that one, the idea is that inherently a secret, as is perceived in the Torah's conception of what secret is, or like secret knowledge, is always the idea of the multiple angles of perspective coming together in a synthesis. That's Sod. Sod is always, right? True secret, something that's inherently a secret. Meaning there could be a secret circumstantially, like something is top secret, something is sensitive information, proprietary information, intellectual property. It's secret just because I decided it's a secret, like it's valuable to me, so I don't want anyone to know. But then there's information that's it's inherently a secret. Inherently, this information is secretive, meaning it's not readily available. It's not readily available. So something that's inherently a Sod requires the coalescing of multiple perspectives on that converge on the one topic. That point that I just said I don't think has anything to do with what we're talking about, but I just had to kind of throw it in to not leave you all hanging there, because it would have been cruel for me to not say something about it.
So it's more like getting at the truth. You need the perspective of many people.
Multiple perspectives,
like
correct.
longitude and latitude with
Correct.
knowledge.
Yeah, correct. Anyway, so this is the Mishnah. Holy Rachil Megalesod. Someone, a dayan that commits this, he has violated that which it says in Mishlei, that he is megaleh, he uncovers the sod. Now, it's a very interesting law that's learned from here, practically speaking, that everyone should know, is that to reveal a secret, someone gives you information in confidence, telling that over to someone is a violation of Lashon Hara. Doesn't matter what it is. A person can tell you something, and if they tell you that information in confidence, for whatever reason, that person said, "Listen, this is private information. I don't want this going around." Right? If you tell someone, that is a violation of Lashon Hara. It's a form of Lashon Hara. To tell over.
Like, can you read between the lines? Like a good friend says, "Oh."
Here we go. Yeah. It goes downhill from here.
Okay, I accept.
If someone tells you information in confidence, to reveal that information is a violation of Lashon Hara. Right? As it says, right? Holech Rachil, a form of Lashon Hara, is Magaleh Sod, to reveal a secret.
But the first person should be guilty of Lashon Hara. The one telling me this.
Who?
I may have already been told by someone to don't tell it. Right?
No, I'm not talking about someone else coming to and tell you, "Oh, you know what I heard," and don't tell anyone. No, I'm talking about someone comes and confides something to you in private, right? He's saying, "Listen, I'm telling you this information for whatever reason. I want to share this with you, but don't tell anyone else."
Also.
What?
It could be joy. Also.
Yeah, could be. Listen, we're expecting, or I have a simcha, and my daughter just got engaged. Something like, don't go tell anyone. Right? Again, you're right. It could be positive information, but for whatever reason, the person doesn't want you to reveal it. If you reveal it, it's a form of Lashon Hara. However, there is this other connotation in this pasuk, which is giving over a very, very deep lesson about what is going on over here. The sod, the other connotation of sod, is the gathering, as we pointed out. Gathering together. The dayan who says this, who goes out of the Beit Din and says, "Listen, I really wanted to let you off, but it was the other two who were after you." He is megaleh sod. He's undoing the sod, the coming together. Okay, so let's unpack that a little bit, because I think that this is really the powerful theme that Rav Kook is discussing in Os Tzadi, as it relates to the tagim of the tzadi. So, as we've done in the previous letters, we'll just do a very quick review of Os Tzadi when we were dealing with just the letter itself, because now we're dealing with the letter vis-a-vis the theme of the crowns. So, but the theme of tzadi in and of itself. So Rav Kook talked about the two connotations of the word tzadi. Sometimes the letter tzadi is pronounced tzaddik, which alludes to the idea of justice, and also the theme of the tzaddik. We talked about how there's the theme of the sustainer, because the verse in Mishlei, tzaddik yesod olam, the tzaddik is he's the foundation of all the earth. But the other connotation of tzadi is tzad, sideness, meaning the theme of two things next to each other. The fact that two things are the adjacentness of two themes together. So
the ability to use those two together, you're saying, but not necessarily.
So the ability of what?
Really, to channel those two things at the same time.
Which two things?
The things that the two.
Yeah, you're saying any
right.
Two things, yes. So the adjacentness of two things, that they're the ability for two things to find commonality.
Right.
And I think at the time, I forget if we actually talked about this when we were dealing with Os Tzadi, but it's very much a theme of compromise. It's like it's finding the common point that both things can share. That's one of the elements of tzaddik. I think we did speak about it in the context of the tzaddik yesod, the foundation. One of the things of forming a foundation is that there has to be some point of commonality between all the things. They don't need to be exactly the same, but it's important to be able to find the point of commonality in which everyone can be more or less on the same page. So picking up on this theme, the theme of the tzadiyut, the sideness, the adjacentness that is brought forth in the tzadi. So it says Rav Kook, hayuchusim hamauravim, the relationality. Is that a word?
I'm not sure.
The relationness, hamauravim shebein noseh lenoseh, that allow two subjects to mix in with each other or to relate to each other. Oto haluach shechokekei hatzedek sham atidim liitchakek, which are the tablets on which the fundamentals of justice will be written upon, and develop in their full expression of truth. Lo yuchlu lahatmim et chezionam me'hamabat hakarov hatzadi shem pogshim bebekishatam. They are not able to fully conform in their mutual visions. Okay, or in other words, this theme that we talked about in Os Tzadi, how two things they come together and they find the common point which allows them to work together. That's very nice. However, what's the problem? The problem is that they still remain in arguments. Right? It's like they're basically finding the point of compromise in which they can both work together, but they remain disparate. Fundamentally, they're holding two different positions. They found a point in which they can work together, but still they're not really completely joined together in harmony. Hakoach hakabir v'hatamir shel hatzedek hayichusi, the power, the full might of justice, which is embedded in the power of yichus, of interrelationship. Right. This is again a theme that Rav Kook talked about in Sadi and other letters as well. That tzedek, justice, is fundamentally it operates in the domain of relationship. The only time there's any relevance to the theme of justice is when disparate things now have to interact with each other. If all the 5 billion people in the world lived as hermits, there'd be no concept of justice. Everyone's just doing their own thing. There's no interaction between anyone. Once you have interaction between things, then there's a concept of justice, because we need to define what's proper interaction and what's not proper interaction. Interaction is a function of and operates within interrelationships. Yichusim. B'shmirat hamishtar hatzadi. Mishtar, like its modern context, means like the police. Mishtar, like the regime, like the ruling regime, the thing that creates the rules and the boundaries. Hatzadi, of, again, this adjacentness of interaction. It must emerge forth from that mighty loftiness, shasham hatoch v'hachutz mitached, in the place where the outer expression and the inner expression become unified. Shasham hatzadiyut v'hamerkaziyut mitagdot. There, in that high lofty place, that tzadiyut, the superficial interrelationship, the hamerkaziyut, and the internal center of the thing, the more essential side of the thing, they are able to come together. Shasham hatzidkot miosda shel hayesod ha'atzmi. That there, the tzidkut, the element of justice, becomes the foundation of self. Shu'einenu taloi b'shum b'sisiyut tzadit. It is not dependent on any basis that comes from the tzadiyut, the superficiality. So now he's developing this theme a little bit more. The problem with superficial compromise is that the relationship is only through superficial interactions. It's not speaking to the essence of. It's not speaking to the essence of the thing. There's many in conflict management, they use this tool of like, okay, you can't agree on anything that you're arguing about. Like, you're not going to agree on the merits. Let's find some way to interact and cooperate with something that has absolutely nothing to do with what we're talking about. Let's I don't know, let's wash the dishes together. Let's do some super mundane activity where we can just pretend like we're cooperating, and that will at least put us into the flow of interaction. It's an effective tool to get people, at least in the
Start.
modality, that we're able to work together on something. It has nothing to do with what we're doing, but at least we're in the pattern of resolution. That's great, but what's the problem? The problem is that you stay there. You stay there, and they find, oh look, we're working together because we're washing the
Never
dishes
solve the
together.
problem.
Exactly, you never solve the problem. So that stadiut is it's a powerful tool because you're able to find an adjacentness at stadiut where you're both able to come together. However, inherently you remain distinct. You remain distinct. So it's like the same thing in justice. If the fundamental positions of both parties remain completely distinct, they don't really see the position of the other, and they're just superficially, right? It's the superficial niceties. In many societies, we don't need to name any specific, right? There's many, right, especially in the societies that are more congruent, let's say, with the Western civilization. Interaction is very much based on nicety, based on superficial nicety. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, that's really good to have. It's like a norm that we interact with each other in this way. Like these are the rules of interaction. These are how we engage with each other. But there's a threat of it remaining superficial, of remaining steady. It's like it's just on the side. It's just my superficial, shield toward the world. Okay, so the goal is to transcend to this adiriyuta elyonai, this mighty loftiness, which is actually the root of justice itself. And what's the root of justice itself? So that things can really integrate and harmonize in a real substantial way. Umisham kerenuzo. I think I just read that a second ago. No, I didn't. Hold on. Sadiq Yesod Olam. This is what allows the other aspect of the tzaddik, who's the foundation of the world. Magdala defarach ba'aviro misham keren uzo. From there, its mighty horn will arise. Horn, like not like the musical instrument, but like the horn of the animal. Misham yofa hodo v'hadro karnei re'em karnav. Where's that pasuk? Not in Bereshis. Karnei re'em karnav. Yes, it's in Bezos Bracha. It's in the blessing of the children of Yosef. Correct. V'zarei ora mitnotzetzim, and its lights can then emerge. The lights of justice can then emerge. V'yu l'tagim maleim berkat nefesh elyona, and those lights that emerge become the crown of the tzaddik. L'hashir al yadam et machon hatzedek, to enrich the foundations of justice. Bahamon stadav, with all of their stadiut, or with all of their superficial side connections, v'chol yichuseim, and all of their interactions. In other words, when the basis of justice is discovered, the basis of justice being the real need that all human beings, we'll stick with human beings for a minute, that all human beings have for harmony and authentic integration, that's the basis of justice. The basis of justice is the need for human beings to be in harmony. So when that emerges, that forms the crown of the tzaddik. So again, the superficial expression of the tzaddik is just finding the common point of which we're all able to interact in harmony and justice. It's the superficial aspect of justice. However, the crown of justice, is to be able to connect and integrate on a more authentic internal level. And that brings us back to this Mishnah over here. What?
And that's what
So that brings us back to what I think is the real powerful message being delivered by this Mishnah. Why is it that the Dayan can't go out and say, I wanted to let you off, but the other guys didn't let you off? Why can't he do that?
Because he's unraveling justice.
Because he's
unraveling the harmony. He's unraveling everything that's supposed to be working together and work through.
He's undermining the Beit Din as a Beit Din. Meaning the Beit Din are not three guys.
Right.
It's an entity. The Beit Din is an entity in and of itself. You can have a Beit Din of 3 people, you can have a Beit Din of 5 people, you can have a Beit Din of 120 people, like they have the Anshe Knesset Gadol. It doesn't matter. It's one entity. Okay? So if one individual of that Beit Din goes out and says, I was the dissenting opinion, and I don't agree with what they did, it's undermining, right? In halacha, we have an idea of a zakein mamre, which is a very interesting idea. Zakein mamre this is only with one type of Beit Din, the central Beit Din of the Jewish people, the Shivim Zakenim, what's called the Sanhedrin. if the Sanhedrin makes a ruling, and one of the elders who disagreed with the ruling goes out and publicly disagrees with the ruling. So this is in fact a capital offense in the Torah. Now it's not just going out and saying I disagree. It's not doing that. It's giving a ruling, telling people to go against the ruling, telling people you should not go according to the ruling of the Beit Din. You should go against the ruling. You should act differently than what the Sanhedrin said. That's already like going completely off the reservation.
Are there cases
right?
where that's okay? That's allowed or no?
Where for a Sanhedrin for someone.
Someone to go against the Sanhedrin.
No, that's the whole point of what we're saying. Even just to say that I disagreed is already a problem. But there's a higher level called the Zakein Mamre where she's already telling people to act against the ruling of the Beit Din. Yeah? Because as you said, it's undermining the significance of the Beit Din itself. Even just saying that I disagreed is being megaleh sod. It's undermining the sod. It's undermining the coming together of the Beit Din. Yeah? So vis-a-vis our conversation over here, we have the superficialities of justice where people have to compromise, because that's what justice is. Justice is machria, right? Right? It's giving. What's a good word for hachra'ah in English? Unfortunately, we don't have our translators here. They usually help me out with the English. Lahachriya means to be decisive. Decisive. I mean, two people come to Beit Din for justice, so one of them is making one claim, the other person's making another claim, and they're not compatible. You have to choose one. You have to choose which one's the right one. Sometimes, for whatever reason, you can't choose because you just don't have enough facts or whatever. But most of the time, you have to choose. You have to choose one of the sides, and that's it. Like that's what they're going to do, and they're going to force that decision. It's not pleasant. However, the ideal, says Rav Kook, is to connect to the higher ideal of why is it that we're even here to begin with? Why is it that we're here in Beit Din having this discussion to begin with? The reason is, if everyone is going to be 100% honest with themselves, the reason that we're here is because justice is a value. Justice is a value that we all have. And what's justice? Justice is for us to be able to live in harmony and togetherness with each other. That's why we're here, because we don't want to have to, kill each other over a sandwich. Like if we have an argument, we want to be able to work it out in a pleasant way. So okay, so the person who walks out, who lost the case, it's probably very, very frustrating for him or her. But still, there's a higher value there that we want to be able to integrate and be harmonized in an authentic way.
And we're saying that the Beis Din is not a superficiality at all. It's real deep justice. You're saying,
correct.
How do we know that that's the deep justice? Is it because Hashem is involved? Is that because they're doing it?
How do we know that was the right decision?
How do we know what's the difference between
that's a completely different question. It's a good question what you're asking. It's a good question. How do we know definitively that the Beit Din and it was like the objectively right answer? The answer is that we don't necessarily know. We don't necessarily know what objectively the right answer was. The Gemara in Bava Basra, sorry? Huh?
That's our system. That's the best.
Correct, but in theory, there could be a Beit Din that could make a mistake for sure. I mean, there are long sugyas about this. In fact, the Siman in Shulchan Aruch in Hilchos Dayanim deals with this question about what happens when it becomes revealed that a Beit Din made a mistake. It's a good question. The Gemara in Bava Basra on Daf Kuf Lamed Zayin says Beit Din batar Beit Dina lo daikinan. Like there's no such thing as an appeals court in halacha. There's no such thing as like taking your ruling that you just got to another court, even like a higher court, quote unquote. And there are higher and lower courts in the Torah.
So you can't demand
there's a regular Beit Din, and there's like the Sanhedrin of the Shevet, and then there's the Sanhedrin that sits at the entrance to Har HaBayit, and then there's the main Sanhedrin that sits in the Lishchas HaGazis. There is an idea of the hierarchy of courts. But it's only a hierarchy of courts in the sense that if one court can't make a decision, then it goes up. But if one court makes a ruling, you can't appeal it to a higher court. There's no such thing in halacha. In the Rabbanut today, in modern Israel, so they stipulate that if you are part of the Rabbanut system, you are essentially giving over your authority to a higher court, and the higher court can criticize your decision. That's like an exception in order to accommodate with certain types of cases that there can be an appeals process. Not with every type of case. With certain cases there can be an appeals process. But that's like that's a modern exception that we have integrated in our system. But inherently, there's no such thing as an appeals process. Once you get a ruling, that's it. And to the point where it's like forbidden for another court to even look at the case of another
Then
Beit
why
Din.
would there be a Gemara?
Oh, so in the case,
If you can't review
no,
it in
no, okay, so there are certain types of mistakes. There are certain types, right? Not every mistake is equal, right? There are certain types of mistakes that could be like a mistake in judgment, like they misanalyzed the facts of the case, or a judgment call of these dayanim was a judgment call that another Beit Din wouldn't take, right? Bishikol hadas, that's what the Gemara calls it. Shikol hadas, meaning they made a judgment call on how to assess the facts of the case.
Okay, but still,
That's
bottom line
one.
is
That's
they-
one
they
type.
decided.
That's one type of mistake. So that type of mistake, no one can go and undo the case based on that. But there's another type of mistake which the Gemara calls toa b'dvar mishnah. They made a mistake on something that's so basic. It's such a basic law. It's already written in the Mishnah. It's not in the Gemara even. It's not in one of the Rishonim. It's already in the Mishnah explicitly that this is the halacha. So let's say, right, the Beis Din, I don't know, the Beis Din makes like a really, really clear error that, they say, a person doesn't have to return something that they stole. They can pay money instead. So right, there's a topic in the Mishnah. The Mishnah deals with the situations where if someone steals something, they have to return the actual object that they stole. In other cases, they don't return the object that they stole because if it's been destroyed, if it's been damaged, if the value goes down, they have to just pay money, have to pay the value. So these things are explicit in the Mishnah. So if they make a mistake at that level, then the case can be overturned. Right? So not every mistake is equal. I don't want to get too much into the technicalities now, but that's basically the layout. That if the mistake, so to speak, was on a point of analysis, then the case can't be undone. But if it's on such a basic fact that it's already written in the Mishnah, it can be overturned.
There's no public written document
These are the things that if we
congressional
accidentally
portal or
go,
whatever. No, there's no like decisions. But could I go and?
Oh yeah, for sure. Every Beit Din that's worth its salt will publish an opinion. Yes, will write an opinion.
as to why they.
However, what do they not write? They don't write the descending opinion. In secular courts, la'avdil, in the West, like in the Supreme Court, there's the opinion, there's the descending opinions. They don't do that. It's forbidden to do that. You can't. Right. You can write the opinion. You should write the opinion. And there's a bunch of halachas about that also, that the litigants can demand to have the opinion of the Beit Din written out. It's like, we want you to write out your opinion. So the more professional Batei Din, they'll write out and give a lengthy explanation as to how they came to the conclusion. Like the Beit Din that operated here in this Beit Midrash for a while. Like they wrote out like a 15-page report, like why it was. There was a Beit Din that operated here for a while in this Beit Midrash.
Really?
Yeah, in this Beit Midrash. So they would write out like a lengthy report, like a lengthy explanation as to how they came to their conclusions. So that is ideal. But what they can't write is that, and there was this guy actually dissented and disagreed for the following reasons. That they can't do. Right? And it's a very powerful thing. Rav Dov there on Shabbat, he gave a very, very powerful version of this. He says in relationships, like if you're with your friend or a spouse or something, right? And you come to a decision, you can't go to the guy and say, listen, I wanted to accept your invitation.
Right.
But my friend over here, he was too tired and he was lazy and he didn't want to go. Like I would have come, but my friend who caused the problem. Yeah, exactly. You come. You say we decided that it's not good for us right now. Right? We decided we're not gonna. Right? We can't make it. Right? Because and to do something like that is being megala sod. It's unraveling the sod. It's unraveling the harmony. Don't unravel the harmony. So as Rav Kook is telling us, the tzadiyut, the superficial niceties that allow our day-to-day interactions to take place, which are not bad. It's not bad that we have that. It's very good that we have our rules of conduct and demeanor. That's great. But the aspiration is that we understand that those superficialities are there to embody a higher ideal. The higher ideal is, it's not just that we don't want to have to fight over every sandwich, but it's that we all require integration and harmony at a fundamental level. That's what we need. We all need it. We desperately need it. So that's right. The crown of the tzadi is ascending to that truth, and to the extent that we're aware of that. So also, as Rav Kook says so beautifully, right? B'hamon stada b'chol yichuseim. The machon hatzedek, the basis of justice, is able to be expressed also in the superficialities, also in the superficial niceties. Why am I letting this guy go before me? Why am I like waving hello to the guy? Why am I giving him a handshake like normal people do? Why am I doing that? Not just because that's the social norm, but because I'm embodying an ideal. I'm embodying a higher ideal.
You should plug it in there also.
Nachon. I'm doing these things because it's embodying a higher transcendent ideal of tzedek, right? Of yichusim.
It sounds to me that there's a sacrifice involved. You have to recognize that sometimes something that I want to do, I'm going to sacrifice because of the greater good, and that's worth it, and that's emes, and that's exactly how it should be.
Nachon.
That's what it sounds like.
Nachon. Tov. Yishar koach.